All right, everyone, we are super excited to have Mr. Jeffrey Smith on the My K12 Career Show. He is here to share his story and his journey with our viewers and our listeners. Mr. Smith is the managing director and co-founder of Advantages Middle East, and he has worked in the field of education for over 20 years, specializing in educational technology, business development, and sales management. He's grown profitable organizations not only in the GCC region where he's currently located, which is Dubai, one of my favorite places in the world, but he's also grown profitable organizations in the U.S. Jeffrey is a native of Columbia, Maryland, but he has lived in the Middle East for a very long period of time, and we are super excited to have him on the show. Brother Smith, can you please share with our viewers and our listeners what's going on in your life and in your K-12 career right now?
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I've had a chance to listen to some of your other guests, and I've been very inspired by their stories and their journey. And of course, your story speaks for itself, and I'm just really honored to be on your show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, doing well. Just launched a new project. I've been since about 2016. I'll actually walk you back a little earlier than that. I moved to Dubai in 2008. Looking to just explore a little bit and see what else was in the world outside of the United States, outside of the borders. Originally thought I would come for a year and a half or 2 years, and it just sort of grew on me for a number of reasons, some personal and some professional. But I decided to make a life out of living as an expat, and it's doing good. It's been almost 15 years now, so it's going really well. I've been working in the field of education, selling technology, started off working for a large tutoring company, and then as the technology began to evolve, I decided to go with it and got involved in home education and online courses at home a few years ago.
Okay.
Prior to the pandemic, I was beginning to read about how it's this explosion. So I was following the trends in the United States, which is always an indicator of what's going to come here. You can see everything from movies to music to even educational trends.
Sure.
Follow it in the U.S. and it's eventually going to find its way to the Middle East. That's just the way. And the statistics, some things that really helped me raise my eyebrows. Of course, everybody understands that homeschool students typically tend to perform better than their classroom counterparts on standardized tests and often have varying GPAs and things like that. That's sort of a well-known fact now. But what I was surprised to know is that even when they measure emotional well-being, that homeschool kids who have now graduated and moved on into their adult life tend to be happier people.
Wow.
87.3% of former homeschool students describe themselves as happy versus 48.3% of the general population. So that really had me taking a deeper dive into this trend, and it's been growing in America for probably the last 15, 20 years.
Sure.
Currently, I believe there are about 4 million students homeschooling on any given day in America in K-12 education. And I began to see the trend in the GCC, particularly in the U.A.E. Many associations popping up. So I wanted to get involved. And I learned as I was studying that there's so many facets to it and so many opportunities, not only for students who are homeschooling full time, but students who are in traditional schools who are looking for other opportunities, things that their school can't provide. So I've managed over the last 3 years to forge partnerships with schools and leverage some of the technology that home education provides. And become partners with schools, things such as credit recovery and the ability to take AP courses that maybe a school is not offering, advanced placement courses, of course. And we've just launched a partnership with Arizona State University to bring dual credit to the region and give high school students a chance to earn university credit. So we're really excited, very excited.
That's awesome. So I see the logo in the background, Advantages Middle East. Yeah, share more with us about, what you got going on with Advantages Middle East. And I also know you're in Africa as well. So yeah, please, we'd love to hear about that. Yeah.
So I was working for another large online school. I left there in the middle of November, and I had a vision for what I wanted to do next. I just needed the right people around. I was introduced to a lady named Pam Dion, who is the founder of a company called Advantages Digital Learning Solutions based in Nevada in the U.S. And her sister, Allison Dampier, they founded this company about 17 years ago. It is a company that has built itself and built a solid reputation on being a strong advocate for educators by making classroom technology easy and accessible for teachers and families. And they sort of have expanded into their own online school, as well as resources for schools. They can strip it down and just use the learning platform and build their own virtual school into their school, or they can just use student management software to help make their running their school easier.
Okay.
And so I was just really intrigued. So I had an opportunity to have a conversation with her. And Brother Williams, just like when I met you, I felt like I'd known you for years.
Yeah.
When I met Tam, I felt the same way with just this connection.
Yeah.
Everything just sort of clicked, and a 30-minute planned conversation turned into a 2-hour conversation.
Wow.
And I knew that she had what I needed in order to make my vision come to reality. But there was a missing piece, and that was I needed a partner here who was already sort of immersed in the home school community.
Sure.
And I was introduced to a lady named Gloria Brown, who was the president of the Homeschool Association of Abu Dhabi. Okay. And we became fast friends, and the same thing. Our visions just aligned. You know, we were almost, by the end of one conversation, we're almost completing each other's sentences in terms of what education should look like. And Gloria, Pam, Dion, and I, we had our first conversation, probably around the end of December, right before the holidays. And we realized that not only did our education vision align, but our business values align and our family values align to a great degree. And we realized that this is a partnership that we had to see forward. So what we did was we created Advantages Middle East as sort of a subsidiary and partner of Advantages Digital Solutions. We are their representatives in the Middle East and Africa, a region that they've been keen to get into for some time.
Sure.
And so we're looking to uphold everything that they have done. They've done so many brilliant things over the years and helped so many students across South America, Central America, and of course the United States. But we want to make it relevant to the region as well. Right. So my plan is we develop the brand here in the Middle East, and then eventually I want to move on into Africa and use the same content, the same platform, but find some curriculum developers who can come up with characters that are more relevant, speak for the region, keeping the same Common Core standards in place, of course.
No, that's really good. I love that concept. I love that idea. And it sounds like it just started, like this partnership started in 2022 and the future's bright.
Yeah, really, right at the end of 2022. We're about 14, maybe 15 weeks old.
Wow, that's amazing. This is your baby. This is your baby.
Yeah, we've already brought it home from the hospital. It was a quick labor and delivery period.
I love it. I love it. So what has been the response? So I know that, you know, the one thing I'll tell anybody, and I'm someone truthfully that has worked in the Middle East myself. And one thing that I found when I moved to the Middle East is like, there's no difference in how parents want what's best for their children. And so I found that's something that we all have in common worldwide. Yes. Like every parent wants what's best for their child. And if Absolutely. That means taking the homeschool route, which a lot of people, like you said, that's a very growing area in K-12 education, not just, you know, in the US, but the Middle East, Africa, everywhere. And then the idea of being able to access education through a digital platform is, yes. I mean, that's not going away anytime soon. It's actually growing, right? And so to me, how do you grow it in such a way that it's not growing too quickly, because that can happen too, I can imagine.
Absolutely.
But also just make sure that, you know, it's one of those things where it can just get exponential and the sky's the limit.
Yeah, that's a very good question, brother. I'm glad you asked. So the first thing we did was humble ourselves and not assume that we knew everything. Even though I've lived here for 15 years and I've spent a lot of that time speaking and listening to families, this is a nuanced field right here.
Sure.
And with Gloria, we said we need to get out and talk to the people, not just throw a bunch of ads on Instagram and, you know, and tell people to come, but find out what they need first, because this thing is so flexible that we can make it whatever we need it to be. So the first thing we did was we decided that we don't want to be a homeschool.
Okay.
Gloria actually coined the phrase home education, and I'll explain the difference. Homeschool typically doesn't have much structure to it. Children are doing it. I think it's officially defined as students who spend 25% or less of their time outside of a traditional school setting.
Okay.
What we decided to do was coin a new phrase, home education. And what makes it different is we have, even though a child may be working from home, there's structure to the program. Structure, number one, it's accredited. It's an internationally accredited program. It's not just some parents that bought some workbooks or, it's winging it or just work with some software that they bought a license for. It's actually an accredited school with a registrar's office who's actually reviewing transcripts and accounting for academic integrity and all those things. We have full-time licensed teachers who are actually monitoring the students. Every morning, students will gather for a morning assembly online, of course.
Okay.
And meet with a live teacher. Even if they have a learning coach home who's sort of supporting them, we offer all of the features. And then, of course, there's an afternoon assembly. And there are clubs. We're doing everything from a high school National Honor Society in partnership with the U.S. National Honor Society team to chess clubs. There's going to be monthly field trips. And so it's a virtual school, but it's going to have a real school feel to it.
Sure.
And we think that's really important in order to keep kids from social isolation.
Sure. I know that with some homeschool groups, they do allow for opportunities for families to get together for extracurricular activities. Do you guys plan on doing that?
Absolutely. Yeah, right now we're building a coalition. What we decided to do was get out and talk to the people, as I mentioned. So we've been going all across the country having focus groups, and they're by invitation only. We find and identify successful homeschool families, home education families across the region, and we bring them in usually to a hotel type setting, and we have a lunch and coffee, and we just sit and talk about our children and what's values and what we need to see. And the big takeaway that Gloria, and I want to mention the other people on our team, Dr. Audrey Lee, who is our school services, and Shay Batts, who is our director of remote learning, who will be helping our families get acclimated to the new system, and Aziza Saeed, who's our executive administrator. We have been engaging these families. And the big thing that we've come away with, Dr. Williams, is that instead of home education constricting opportunities for children, as we always I think the stereotype sort of preceded the way I was looking at this thing, it actually expands opportunity.
Yeah.
It takes a child from being constrained to a classroom 6.5 hours a day and lets him get out and work on whether he's, playing a basketball or playing clarinet. He can really get out and pursue his passions.
Sure.
And so what we're doing right now, and again, in a typical school, when you do activities, you do it with the people that go to that school.
Yeah.
But what we're doing is we're building a community where we're letting families know we don't care what curriculum you use. If you're a home education family, we want you to be a part of our community. And so our children can come together. I don't care if you live in Egypt or if you live down the street from me. We can all come together and support our children virtually. And so we're looking at having conferences and using our collective purchasing strength to get preferred rates at everything from amusement parks and different venues for the kids.
That's awesome. Now, do y'all follow the traditional school calendar of the United States? What I mean by that is like the school normally take place from like August, September through May, June.
We encourage families to do that, but we actually offer enrollment year-round.
Okay.
Students can start anytime they want to have a new enrollment the first of every month.
Awesome. Do you have an opportunity? Let me back up. I don't want to assume. Do you guys offer high school diplomas?
We do. Yeah. Okay. We offer a full U.S. high school diploma. We are owned by the state of Nevada. So they'll get the Nevada Board of Education.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, this is really good. And I definitely will share whatever you need me to share in the show notes so that anybody that wants to know more about Advantages Middle East and Advantages Digital Solutions right here in the United States, I'm happy to share that information as well. It just sounds so amazing and so awesome. And I'm a parent first, so I have a son that's in 7th grade. I have a daughter that's in 3rd grade. And, I wonder if this 20th century way of educating our students for a 21st century world that they're going to live in is the right move. And I know I only get one shot at this. So truthfully, as a parent, I'm glad I'm having this conversation with you because, I basically have a little over a year to kind of figure out what I want for his path, especially once he gets to high school. in terms of, do I have him go the traditional route of 9 through 12 in a typical American high school, or do I kind of think outside the box so that I can, get him ready for the world he's going to live in 40 years from now? I like to joke with my son, he's only 12 years of age, that 40 years from now, 40
Mhm.
years from now, Brother Smith, he won't
Yeah.
even be the same age I am now. Like, I'm 54 years of age, he's
Yeah.
12. You add
Mm.
40 years to his life, right?
Yeah.
He's only
Yep.
going to be 52 years of age. He's not even going to be the same
Absolutely.
age I am. So you're talking about 2063.
Mm.
It's hard for me to
Mm.
even say that number,
I know.
right?
Yeah.
2063, he won't even be 54 years of age, which is the
My
age I am
goodness.
now. So he's going to be on this earth, God willing, with his own family. And are we truly preparing him for the world that he's going to live in at that time? And so I'm really keen on that. And I know I'm not alone in how I'm thinking about this. I know that there's a lot of people that are watching this show right now that are thinking the same thing. Like, am I doing right by my child in terms of preparing them, exposing them to the
Yeah.
various educational opportunities that are out there, and doing what's best for them? And if I were to answer that, I would say probably not. And so I am looking and thinking outside of the box of what I can do. My children are bilingual. I want him to learn another language. Because we lived in the Middle East, he became really enchanted with just the Arabic language. And so I was really thinking about going that route, because he did learn a lot of words and phrases while we were over
Mhm.
there, and still keeps up, truthfully, because of technology, with a lot of friends that he made over there. So yeah, this is really cool, man, that you're sharing this. Like, what is your vision for, like, if we were to fast forward to 2028,
Mhm.
5 years from now, what would
Yeah.
be your vision for Advantages Middle East? And I guess Advantages Africa at that point.
Yeah. Well, I certainly would like to see the right there. We have a three-part strategy. The first part is to do what you said. It's about changing mindsets about education and realizing that the way technology has evolved, that our children have got to be prepared for a different type of adult experience than what we had. Students are going to need to rely more on problem solving skills, critical thinking skills, being resourceful, and home education. By its very nature, you have to learn self-study skills and how to be reliant on self more in order to meet deadlines. It sort of instills those things. And creativity is another one. With technology being what it is, we're still going to have to retain our creativity and not just get lost in order to be leaders of tomorrow. We're going to be a pretty scary place.
Sure.
Home education, students tend to get into more entrepreneurship ventures as jobs begin to become more scarce, as I think we're already seeing in America in some areas now. That's going to be very important. So my vision is to sort of shift the mindset of parents in order to realize we're going to have to expand choice for our kids. Secondly, is to inspire children to use technology more responsibly and really leverage it in a good way.
Sure.
Right now, I think we're seeing that. I'm amazed at some of the things that my own children and their peers can do. My daughter's just returned from Japan. I think I
Wow.
mentioned to you briefly, but never missed an hour of school.
Yeah, that's huge.
They're actually a
Awesome.
little bit ahead of where they need to be, and they got to take an 11-day vacation in the middle of the semester.
Wow.
So just helping families understand that this is possible. It's just another way of thinking. And lastly, I think is working with school systems and understanding that we can partner with them and help them evolve. We don't want to compete with schools. I am very inspired by the work of teachers and educators and administrators, and I've been partnering with them for over 20 years, and I want those relationships to continue, but we need to see a change. Our teachers are overworked when they could be leveraging this technology to make their lives so much easier and being of better quality. Because if they let the technology do some of the manual grading that they're doing now, they have more time to actually engage with their students and then build closer relationships with their students. So these are the three things that we'd like to do, and then continue to expand quickly and move into Africa and open up doors of opportunity.
That's awesome. Is there some sort of numerical goal that you have for your organization in terms of the number of students, families that would access this amazing technology that you guys are offering, this amazing company? What do you envision in terms of just sheer numbers, raw data?
Oh my goodness. I don't know if we have like a 2 and 3 year plan. I honestly, between school partnerships and individual family uses, I'd like to see 500,000 students
Okay.
in 5 years.
500,000. Wow. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think once we get to Africa, it'll take off. I think it's going to take off in the Middle East too, especially in Saudi Arabia and Egypt. And their numbers might actually be conservative when you
Sure.
look at the numbers of students. Places, especially in Africa, and we talked a little bit about Africa before, they have these, I'd say, elite international schools that are
Yeah.
cost prohibitive for the masses of the people who live there. And especially in countries like Nigeria and in Kenya, where there's a strong emphasis on academic achievement, for them that this technology sort of levels the playing field, because the big expense for those international schools has always been flying over Western educators, and the labor is just so intensive and expensive that the tuition price is really high. But with this model, you don't have to fly staff over. You can have maybe 1 or 2 people in country, but you can hire your local staff and they can be empowered with the technology and receive the training and make this something that where the critical mass can actually access it.
I love it.
Maybe every family won't access it, but they can certainly form societies by giving these children a good quality education. And again, relevant to their culture
Sure.
and the traditional values. We can make it whatever we want it to be, and make sure that they're ready for the 21st century and everything that's coming down the pipe.
That's powerful. No, I see so many opportunities for you and for your organization to just make such an impact because, I've always believed that when you create or join an organization, like if you can solve a pain point or a problem that the masses have, you have something, and you have something that can really have an impact, long after we're gone. And so, yeah, I definitely see where this can be just game changing, especially in a place like Africa and the Middle East for that matter. So, yeah, like I just see so many opportunities there. I just want to pivot a little bit. Like you have been living in the Middle East for the last 15 years. And I know that people are intrigued. They see 2 Black brothers that are having a conversation like this, and you've been there for 15 years, and I've worked over in the Middle East myself. And
Yes.
like, what would you say to someone that's like, wow, I'm intrigued. I didn't even know, for example, they even allowed, administrators to, work in the Middle East like I had the opportunity to, or I didn't even know you could go over and start an organization like you did. Like there's opportunities on the business side, on the admin side, the teaching side. Like, what would you say to someone that might be even considering, making the decision you made 15 years ago to come to, a place like Dubai?
Call me. Watch your podcast and listen to the number at the end and give me a call or email me. I do plan to chronicle some of my journey as Heath Bailey and others have. I haven't done everything perfectly, and I'd like to help people avoid some of the pitfalls, but also learn from some of the things that I did well. And it's been a good ride every step of the way. But I do believe that it's really time for a lot of Americans. And I read recently that still in 2023, the less than 25% of Americans have a passport.
Wow.
And the world is just so connected, so interconnected now that it's time that we get on a plane and see the world and stop listening to narratives that they've been fed over the television and really get out and meet some people.
That's real.
I know that I've been very surprised at, especially going to Africa and seeing just how developed so many parts of Africa are. They're modern cities.
Yeah.
And my kids just got back from Japan and they were blown away.
Yeah.
It's 10 years ahead of Dubai even.
Wow.
The technology and the efficiency, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yep.
That's saying something.
Yeah. Yep. And the civility of the people is what they were most impressed with. Everybody just had such good manners.
Yeah.
And we've talked about, the Middle East, especially Kuwait and Dubai, where you can leave your laptop down in a coffee shop and go shop and just leave everything there and it's going to be perfectly fine. And so people need to get out and see the world and see what other opportunities are available.
That is so powerful. I'm on 15 countries and counting. And what's amazing about that is my children who are, you can see them in the picture in the background. They're 12 and 9, and they've been to like 10 countries themselves. They're fluent in Spanish and in English. My wife was originally from Colombia. My son is right now he's learning Portuguese, but I mean, truthfully, he's so enamored with Arabic. I'm thinking we might pivot on that and just, let him go full fledged into that language because he does have that kind of base from when we lived there. And so, yeah, I just think the opportunities are unlimited. I'm stunned at that, that statistic that you brought up about only 25% of Americans have a passport. And truthfully, if you're hearing me and watching me right now, that is the most powerful passport in the world, the blue passport from the United States. You don't know what opportunities await you if you get that passport, if you live in America. So yeah, I would absolutely echo what Brother Smith said, like get that passport and go see the world because it's out there, and there's no other passport in the world that can give you access to so many different countries without filling out a visa form or any of that. Just have that blue passport and you can go. So that thank you for sharing that. I didn't even know that. So if you're watching right now, like reach out to Brother Smith or reach out to me. I'll happily connect you with people like, Jeffrey Smith and Heath Bailey and Loretta Sanders and all kind of people that have made this decision to move abroad. They're people of color and they have literally thrived. And the amazing thing about it is some have gone and, they've done things like Jeffrey and have stayed in education, and they're creating an organization that's totally focused on K-12 education. And then you got some people like Heath Bailey that just went a totally different path and still in education, still got one foot in there, but also doing other things. So the great thing about it when you go abroad is like it's unlimited, the options that are out there. Jeffrey is a perfect example of that with Advantages Middle East. And another thing I wanted to ask you about your organization, like, are there opportunities because you guys are online for people to maybe even contract or work with your organization?
Absolutely. If we grow, we'll certainly be looking for those opportunities. Now, strategically, another way we want to differentiate ourselves from other international online providers is we want to give our customers as much of a local feel as possible.
Oh, okay.
So about 60 to 70% of our teachers we want to hire in the locale
that makes sense.
Where the students are living. However, there are some specialty subjects, English being one, where if we can find a good, strong native English teacher, an American per se, in an area where they're far and few between, and it just makes more sense, we would certainly hire. So we do plan to have about 30% of our staff living outside of the region. And I will be looking at the United States as the first place to turn to for teachers.
For sure. Okay. Is there a specific, I know like when I think about the English curriculum, I think about the UK curriculum, and then I think about the US curriculum. Does that matter, or how does that look?
It doesn't matter. All we'll require is that the teacher have a teaching certificate, and typically people with a teaching certificate have a master's degree. I know some have a bachelor's and a teaching license, and so that's fine as well.
That's awesome. Yeah. Man, this is so great, man. This definitely won't be the last time. I would love for you to come on the show again because I just want to, because it's so new, I would love to really connect with you every 6 months or so, just with an update on how things are going with Advantages Middle East. I just see so many opportunities in the Middle East and Africa and the world. The world is you guys' oyster. I think this could be a 100% worldwide company. And so I'm really excited about, just getting to, know you better and just hear how everything is, kind of playing out in the months and years to come. So I would love for you to, keep in touch, and let's just continue to have the conversation about Advantages Middle East and Advantages Africa and all the things that you're doing in your organization.
Thank you so much, Dr. Williams. I really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure. Had a great time.
100%. I really want to thank you, and I want to honor you for all the work that you've done with, communities in the United States, communities in, the Middle East, because one of the reasons why I started this show is to honor K-12 educators like yourself that are making an impact, not just in the United States, but in the world. So I really want to honor you for all the great work you've done to date. And I know the best is yet to come. So I want to honor you.
Thank you. And I want to give a shout out to Pam Dion and Alice Dempi. I mentioned them earlier. They are the founders of the Digital Learning Solutions. They're currently working in partnership with an organization in Rwanda, and they are educating Afghan refugees, Afghan girls. Unfortunately, they're from a country that right now has banned formal education past grade 6, I believe.
Wow.
So fortunately, these girls are in a country where they're safe, and Rwanda is doing a phenomenal job. Shout out to Rwanda.
Yeah.
And the girls are getting a world-class education through the same platform, in partnership with the School of Leadership for Afghanistan.
Wow.
And so I'm very proud to be connected to an organization that's doing that type of work. And
Yeah.
we're looking for opportunities like that to partner with people to serve marginalized communities.
For sure. Yeah. And that makes an impact long after we're off of this earth. So yeah, I salute you guys for doing that 100%.
It's fantastic. It
Absolutely.
really is. It's good work. It's
Absolutely.
work to be proud of.
For sure. Well, Jeffrey Smith, I want to thank you again for coming on the My K12 Career Show, just sharing your story, just sharing all that you're doing with your new organization. But before you leave, could you please share with our viewers and our listeners some parting words of wisdom? Tell us how we can connect with you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Okay. Well, my parting words of wisdom will be to read something and discover something new every day. I'll just leave it that simple. You can reach me. How can you reach me? What should I give? Our website is www.advantagesmiddleeast.com.
Okay.
And you can also reach my email at j.smith@advantagesmiddleeast.com.
Great. And then you're also on LinkedIn. That's how we connected too. So.
I'm on LinkedIn as well. Just Jeffrey Smith, Advantages Middle East, and you'll find me.
100%. Well, once again, my brother, I want to thank you again. I salute you for all the great work you're doing. And I'm excited. I'm excited. I just feel the future is so bright. I feel like you guys are definitely going to make an impact that is just going to have I think 500,000 is too low. I think millions of people are going to actually benefit from what you guys are doing. So I salute you 100%.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Appreciate
you.
All right.